How's it going, everyone? Let's continue our rookie review recap type series with Jarace Walker of my Indiana Pacers. I'm really excited to do this one and to really deep dive back into what he did last year. There's been so much discussion this offseason about whether or not Jarace is the odd man out or what's going to happen with him given this Siakam extension and re-signing Toppin. But I think Jarace had a really impressive rookie year, all things considered. And the main first thing to note is how good of a shooter he was, especially off the dribble. I expected Jarace to be a good shooter, especially off the dribble at some point in his career, but not this early. He shot like 35, 36% on off dribble threes in the G League and NBA and like 40% overall. And he was very smoothly stringing together dribble moves. I love this little hard pound sidestep to the right, fading a little bit. That just looks like a pure NBA shot, and Jarace was doing this pretty much all season. He showed defenses that you couldn't go under him on screens, and if you did, he would punish you, which is such a valuable trait that a lot of young players don't have. They aren't comfortable shooting this ball when screen defenders play them softly, but that's such an important trait in the NBA to be able to punish these soft screen coverages. And we're going to see more of Jarace being able to punish these soft screen coverages later in this video with his passing. But the fact that Jarace can do it with his jumper already is really, really impressive. He's comfortable taking these like one dribble pull-ups as well. He was mostly a mid-range pull-up shooter in college. He shot 8 pull-up threes all of college and already made like took like 80 on good percentages this year, which is pretty absurd. He was comfortable shooting off of the catch as well, rising over Brook Lopez there. The shooting returns are really phenomenal, and I'm very, very optimistic about Jarace as a shooter. Willingness to catch and fire smoothly. There's a guy, Malik Monk, sprinting at him to close out, and Jarace is going to smoothly hop into this three, set his base, perfectly aligned, perfect balance, great energy transfer. It's a smooth looking jumper. It looks reliable. It looks repeatable. It looks like it's going to be sustainable. And some of the driving and handling flashes to the mid-range that Jarace showcased were pretty ridiculous, as the handle here is great. Jarace is going to keep it tight with Herder digging, Monk and Sabonis in there, and Jarace just going to simply hop over to his spot, fade to the left, and beautifully drop that shot in. His mid-range touch was great in college. It's fantastic in the NBA. I'm quite confident in it translating. But I do have some scoring worries with him, and the main scoring issues that I've noticed come with his finishing. This is one of the big problems with him as a prospect, with him just not wanting to go to the rim and some of the driving process stuff. And I would say that's still a problem, as Jarace can get downhill, but he has the habit where he'll pick the ball up way too early, picks the ball up outside of the paint, and tries this like really difficult scoop layup. When Jarace is a good athlete and can be explosive, he just kind of doesn't do it. When I wish a lot of the time Jarace would, this is really good, stampeding into the, running into the catch, getting downhill. I just wish, again, he would take one more dribble here to kind of knife through this defense and get himself a much easier shot. This is still a makeable one, but he shot very poorly at the rim in the NBA this year. It was much better in the G League just because he dunked the ball a ton in the G League where he didn't really in the NBA. But these kind of process issues are something I noticed, as well as his handling control, where I love this initial move that Jarace is able to reject the screen against Deuce McBride, get to the middle, but ends up losing his handle to the dig, which is not something I'd be hugely concerned about, as that's going to be like basic ball control fixes rather than like creative handling. But yeah, Jarace just not a great finisher at the moment, which I definitely do worry about, given how he's going to fit in this, Indiana team is probably mostly a play finisher, right? Just because he's playing next to so many great players. I think he's worth developing into an on-ball creator, and he can get there. But right now, he's definitely a play finisher, and he'll often just rush things. He would be so much better off, like, taking a dribble, pump faking a couple times. I think he is very rushed overall on his drives and on his finishes, and he has been able to get away with it in the past just because of how amazing his touch is. But I do think as he gets older, he's going to need to improve that. Again, we see another advantage created. He's easily able to beat Jordan Clarkson off the dribble there. I really wish he'd take one more dribble here. Again, picking up the ball outside of the paint is just a difficult life. If he takes one more dribble, he can really dictate what Kessler's doing instead of working on a difficult lefty scoop shot that, again, it's a makeable one, but it's not one that's easy or necessarily preferred to do over, more kind of simple stuff. But Jarace has ridiculous touch. I think that's pretty clear. And it's a great foundation to build off of, able to get this cross, bump, cornet, finish. I do wish he was more comfortable taking these like forward momentum pull-ups like right here. I don't like that Cornet even has the option of sagging off Jarace this much. And Jarace is a good enough shooter that I want him taking these. I want him punishing defenses. I want them pressing up because that's going to make his life as a driver all that much easier. So a lot of these fixes we're kind of talking about are pretty basic, low-hanging fruit stuff when you have the crazy floater touch like this. Jarace just beautifully dropping in a runner from the left elbow. Like, it makes sense why he would index on the early pickups when Jarace can do shit like this. I get it, but I do think there are obvious approach changes that he can make to make his life way easier and to skyrocket his efficiency, which wasn't great this year. It was solid in the G League, and the passing is the second thing that was awesome in college, and it was phenomenal in the NBA. He is a really, really great wing passer. Let's just get into all of the ways that he picked apart defenses with his passing. Jarace running a pick and roll, getting double teamed. It is basically reading this 2v1 here, where it's Shepard and Isaiah Jackson versus Champagnie. It looks like he's no-looking to Isaiah Jackson, so Champagnie goes that way, but nope, he's passing to Shepard, who ends up catching and finishing with his left. Ben Shepard was awesome. I'm planning on doing a Ben Shepard video at some point. I really love that guy. He was awesome. Are we going to show this clip twice by accident? That's all right. We can enjoy this pass twice. But Jarace overall, as an on-ball guy, as an off-ball guy, we're going to see both types of passing. As look what happens when Jarace keeps his dribble and gets deep into the paint, where he's able to draw two defenders, simply lobs it over to Isaiah Jackson, who finishes a dunk. He's able to draw defenses as a scorer and use that to open up his passing, which is really valuable and not something that most young wings his age can do. Really smooth behind the back bounce here to hit the lifting Nembhard. Notices that Alvarado's digging way too deep and that Nembhard's going to have a wide open shot once he finds him, and he uses the advanced delivery with the behind the back to get that pass there. Jarace is going to be more effective, or not even more effective, but do this kind of stuff more often. Attacking closeouts where he's attacking space, takes a couple dribbles, once again notices the space, lobs it up to Isaiah Jackson. It's nothing crazy, but he's so comfortable playing with pace off of the dribble and turning those into passes. Whew, this is one of my favorite Jarace passes of the year. Look at this skip pass where the defense knows that Jarace can make these lob passes, and Malik Monk is sitting down on Isaiah Jackson. So what's Jarace going to do? Simply skip it to the weak side corner. Another connection with Ben Shepard for a three. I cannot wait to keep watching those two play together. Really nice semi-transition work here. Jarace skipping to the corner. Once again, this is partly, I'd give a lot of credit to Miles sprinting down and sealing off Alvarado, forcing Murphy to help, and the second Jarace notices Murphy helping, he whips it to Nesmith. Jarace is really good at picking out these kind of openings in the defense when other players help, which happens a lot on the Pacers, right? Because they create so much havoc with their motion and with their great players, and I think that's really given Jarace a lot of license to be a great passer and to make these decisions. Great little laydown in transition. I was at this Clippers game, and this was one of Jarace's best games of the year. This might have been Jarace's best game of the year, and it was genuinely amazing to watch, and we're going to get into more clips. But this is the kind of stuff that I really was excited to see, is Jarace working as an off-ball passer. He's going to short roll into space here and find Obi Toppin. And this is the stuff that I can imagine him doing next year. Defenses, let's say trap Halliburton or Nembhard or whoever, Jarace rolls into space. We've got a we've got a 2v1 here with Jarace and Toppin versus Cornette in space. Hauser's way too far out, and he's going to simply hit Toppin. He's going to dunk that easily. Jarace, obviously, I think has a ways to go as a play finisher, but given his connective skills, that ability to pick out passes, to punish rotating defenses is going to be so valuable on this fast-paced Pacers team. Again, kind of catching the ball top tee after the defense is scrambling. Jarace is going to whip this into Kendall Brown, and he ends up laying that home. A lot of this is garbage time, and I'm very curious to see how this translates to more like legit hoops, but there is plenty of this, like, second quarter of a real basketball game. And here's what we talked about when it comes to drawing defenses with his shot. They know that Jarace is a shooter, and look at him looking up at the rim. This looks like he's setting into his shot. Markkanen and Collins both sit down on Jarace's jumper. This looks like a shot until it's not. He audibles and hits Miles Turner in the rim. That's high-level manipulation using the defense's kind of preconceptions against them. We're going to see Jarace do that again here in the same Clippers games where George is going to sprint at him to close out, and Jarace is like, nope, I'm just going to pass down low to Jalen Smith. PG sprints at him because he knows Jarace is a shooter and can hit these. Jarace is like, I'm just going to pass right down to this wide open guy. I'm not going to take a bad shot, and this is a really high-level decision, high-level execution for a rookie. Really, really impressive stuff overall. I think Jarace deserves a lot of praise for what he did as a passer, and we see him try this again, and it didn't always work, but he didn't turn the ball over a ton, and when he did, it was a lot of handling kind of errors where he dropped the ball like we kind of watched earlier, or stuff like this where I think he was trying advanced reads. I really do like this attempt where Jarace notices Jackson slipping behind Jericho Sims and tries to like lead him. Probably just places this pass a little bit too close to Sims. I think if Jarace maybe put some more air on the pass and led it to this restricted area, it would have gotten through. But I like the attempt there. I think he was trying to make a play, trying to hit a high-level read, and I'm always going to respect that out of a playmaker. Again, we see Jarace turning the ball over here, but I wouldn't call this a quote-unquote like bad turnover where Jarace is trying to pocket pass this through in a really tight window, maybe a little too tight, but that's a great play by Nance to get his hands on the ball. And if this ball gets through, that's going to be a foul or a dunk for Jalen Smith. And I like this pass. It shows high-level anticipation and vision and the willingness to try stuff, because that's how great passers have to be. Luka, Trey, LeBron, Steph, Halliburton, they're all turning the ball over because they're trying these tight window passes. And I love that Jarace has this trait already. He's willing to try them. And a lot of these, I think, were, you could argue miscommunications with his teammates where Jarace does a great job getting his defender in jail, which Jarace did a lot this year. He tries to clearly throw a lob into this space, right? Once again, we talked about passing into space on this channel so many times, but he's trying to pass into the space for Jalen Smith. I'm not really sure what Jalen Smith is doing here. Looks like he's just like going for a box out because he thinks Jarace is going to shoot it. And that's where teammates have to get used to a player who's manipulative and deceptive like Jarace, because Jarace fooled his own teammate here, as well as fooling the defense. And if that happens, it's not going to go well. But we're going to see a very similar play here, this time with a better big in Isaiah Jackson, where Jarace is going to have a tight handle in the pick and roll, put his defender in jail, draw in Jericho Sims. And that's the kind of lead pass you want into space, high and away. And when you have a lob target like Isaiah Jackson, it makes sense to hunt these types of passes. And I really hope we get to see these two play together. I really like the Jarace-Isaiah Jackson connection. Another one right here where against the Celtics zone, Jarace is going to cut into space, read the 2v1, immediate decision. His decision making, as we've seen throughout these clips, is so impressively quick. The passing stuff is really great. I don't have a ton bad to say about Jarace as a playmaker, both on the ball and off the ball. He flashed the ability to create opportunities for his teammates, and that's just so valuable. Defense was the big question, where I came away from this rewatch very high on his offense and a little concerned about the defense. The defense was great in college. That was one of his main selling points as like an off-ball four. But in like these garbage time minutes and whenever he played, it was pretty atrocious, honestly. There were some okay moments where Jarace like uses his length to dig down and get a steal there and ends up turning the ball over. or here he's going to rip Paul George in the same Clippers game. That's just a beautiful play. Once again, creating pressure, turning the ball over with his length. We definitely saw some of this. Jarace had a pretty good steal rate for his position, and this was a great kind of awareness play where Jarace and McConnell are kind of showing pressure at Durant, and obviously Beal ends up getting the ball in the short roll here. Jarace notices the gap that is created when Buddy rotates, and then he sprints out into the corner and ends up guarding Eric Gordon. That's good stuff overall, but the majority of Jarace's time on defense was not great. That was a really, really nice play there recovering, but we see Jarace getting woefully stuck on this Rudy Gobert screen, just way behind the play. Credit to him for making the recovery there, and his playmaking and defense at the rim was what was really special about him in college and what he did so well, but that wasn't really what he was asked to do a ton. And when he did, he was often just like out of position, not really paying the most attention on defense. The movement skills were maybe even the most disappointing, where he really struggled to change direction in space, and we can kind of just see Jarace zoning out here. And I mean, he's not getting help from Isaiah Jackson, right? But Jarace allows this guy to cut right in front of him. That's not good. That obviously shouldn't happen, right? It wasn't good overall. Again, we see him very easily get blown by Peyton Pritchard. It was kind of a mess on the ball. I figured he'd struggle on the ball at least early, but I think they gave him too many point of attack reps rather than letting him guard like off the ball. Great block there, actually, but you can see him again getting beat initially. Jarace got opened up pretty easily by the spin move. Great explosion to block that shot. I wish they used him more as a weak side rim protector. Hopefully we get to see more of this next year. And just as like way out of position in this high kind of drop. They're obviously winning by 7 in like late games, so I don't want to like dock a play like this too much. But Jarace is, I don't know why he's so far over to the screen side when it would have been much better for Jarace to give himself cushion to kind of try to stop Fox instead of having to slide with one of the fastest players in the league. But I was thinking, and someone asked this to me on Twitter, I was like, okay, so Jarace was really bad in his limited minutes on defense. How was he in the G League? Was it any different when he was like dominating on offense? So that was one of my kind of goals for this video, was to figure that out. And unfortunately, wasn't that great. This was the first game I threw on. My process for making this, for getting clips, I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw on a random game or two. I'm going to collect some clips. We're going to kind of evaluate and see how his defense was in a random game. And this is like the first quarter. The first 15 seconds, we see Jarace zoning out off of the ball and getting back cut. Ends up not getting punished because of that. Once again, first minute of the game, Jarace getting very easily blown by and fouling. I'm not really sure what the idea is here. Way too upright. He's not sliding, not in an explosive stance, just pushes from the back and ends up fouling pretty obviously. Here's early in the second quarter where Jarace is just standing still. That was a lot of what I saw on defense from him in the G League this year, and I definitely didn't watch like every G League game. I'm sure someone who watched a bunch of the Mad Ants would have a better answer than me, but again, a lot of just standing still. Parks here, he's not helping on the interior, he's not helping on the wing. There really is no activity, and this is just not really acceptable, to put it point blank, this kind of defensive effort and activity and impact, and it's going to have to get better next year. I definitely want to give Jarace some grace because the Pacers defense was kind of a mess all year. Even when it got better, it wasn't great, and he wasn't in the best environment to thrive on defense, surrounded by great defenders and great defensive coaches and stuff, but that doesn't mean he doesn't need to be better. But if Jarace can be better on defense, hopefully in more of an off-ball, like 4 rim protecting kind of role, and I guess he needs to improve at the point of attack if the Pacers are going to play him as they are. But the offense is really, really inspiring, and I have a lot of belief in it. Even if Jarace can't really improve as an elite finisher or a great one, I think he's worth developing as a legit creator off the dribble with his pull-up shooting and his playmaking. That's a really rare combination of skills for like a young 6'7" wing forward to have. There aren't a lot of guys in the league who are like burly and strong like Jarace with that great touch and the shot making and the creativity on his drives and some of the on and off ball passing that we saw. So I'm so excited to see what we get. And tentatively nervous to see how much Rick plays him in year 2 because I'm just a Pacers fan and I really, really want Jarace to be good. But I would be confident in him at least being a really nice offensive player at some point based on what we saw this year.